Welcome to Lightroom Photography and welcome to lens comparison. As a wedding photographer and a portrait photographer, there are a couple of lenses that are kind of attractive to a photographer. There are wide angle lenses, there are standard lenses in terms of focal length like the 50mm, 58mm with a Nikon. And there are telephoto lenses. And when you think about portraits, weddings, photographing people, there are two options in terms of zoom lenses and prime lenses. Now when you go for zoom lenses, there's one lens that is for every manufacturer, for every camera that you can find that 70 to 200mm zoom lens, be it Sony, Nikon, Canon, third-party manufacturers like Sigma and Tamron. So there is a 70 to 200mm zoom lens that works great for photographing people and portraits. But if you like to use prime lenses like I do, there are two interesting lenses when it goes into telephoto lenses and taking portraits and pictures of people with telephoto lenses. There's the 85mm 1.2 and the 135mm 2.0. I'm going to take pictures now with both of these lenses at the same time. I photograph myself just right here and around this area. So I will now show you how the video looks. So I'm standing there taking pictures of myself with both cameras. They both stand in different places and look at the same point, so I'm captured with both of these cameras at the same time. And then I'm going to switch the lenses, but I leave the cameras as they are, so you see kind of both lenses from the same point, from the same distance, how I look like. And at the end I will show you a couple of videos where I photographed other people, a couple of videos with the 85, a couple of videos with the 135, so you see how much distance do you need to get nice portraits or half body portraits or full body portraits with both of these lenses. Now the philosophy about lenses for me, I can explain it when I go to weddings. I have a very simple setup. I use two cameras at the same time. It's always the same camera. So for the last year it's the 6D Mark II and it will be the same for the next year. And I have three lenses, a wide angle, a standard lens and a telephoto lens. And I try to have a lot of focal length in between these lenses. What I mean by that is, to me it doesn't make sense to bring a 35mm lens and a 50mm lens, because 35 and 50 is relatively close. It makes more sense to bring the 50 and maybe a 24 or a 20mm lens to have more difference between the focal length, because 24mm to 50 is much wider than 35 to 50. So the same goes in the telephoto area. When I go to a wedding, I have a wide angle lens, 24, a standard lens, 50mm, and a telephoto lens. And the telephoto lens, I bring the 85 or 135, and often it's actually the 135 because I have more reach. 135 is much further away from 50 than 85. The 85 is still pretty close to 50mm. So I try to bring lenses that are different in focal length from each other. Okay, now when we take a look at these two lenses, both these lenses are very, very legendary. Although I think most people know the 85, first for its aperture at f1.2, second for the focal length 85mm, which is the classic portrait focal length. But the 135 I think is a secret weapon, you could say, that not so many people know in comparison to the 85 1.2. I think the 85 1.2 everybody has heard of it, whereas the 135 is a little bit more of a secret lens, although it's kind of phenomenal, I think. So let's compare these two. Now, first of all, when you get a lens or equipment, it's always what is possible. What can you afford actually? And here we have two very different price points. We have 900 euros, that's what I paid when I bought it. I think they are now even more expensive, but I paid 900. And this I looked up for 1,900. So it's actually more than double the price than this one, and both work in the same area, telephoto portrait lens. Now you could say 85 1.2, f1.2 is much more open, the aperture, than f2.0 on the 135, although when you look at the images, the bokeh and the compression and the blurry background is very similar. Sometimes even the 135 looks much nicer because you have even more compression than with the 85mm. But also you need to get further away with this lens to get more than just the face in the image. So price-wise, the 135 makes much more sense because it only costs half of what this costs. Now let me give you the way I approach lenses. Lenses always have the same price for many years if the lenses don't fall down. And when you use them often they will fall down, but if they don't fall down, they have the same price for many, many years. Now the interesting thing is, when you look at Canon stuff, there is a lot of stuff already out there on the used market. So instead of paying 1,900 for this lens, I paid 850 on eBay for it. So in my case, actually I paid the same amount for both lenses. And I can sell it for the same price. So the second-hand market is a really nice place to look for lenses, because you can buy it for a price and you can sell it 1 year later for the same price if it didn't fall down. Cameras, it's different. They lose value pretty quickly. New models are released. Also, when you use them, the higher the shutter count, the less value they have. But lenses, you can take 1 million shots with this lens and still sell it for the same price that I paid for, maybe even more, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Paying 850 for it, selling it for 890 3 years later. So actually I didn't pay anything for it. I just needed the 850 loose so I can buy it in the first place. But this is just the price point. Now, other things. Now, when you have an older camera like a 5D Mark III, Canon 1D S4, 6D, or any older camera that doesn't have the eye and face detection in live view, any older camera, when we look at autofocus and reliability and consistency and how the lens helps you, the 135 is such an easy lens to use. I've used it on so many weddings, and often it was the most used lens on a wedding, which speaks for itself. And the autofocus at f2.0 is so easy to get the face in focus. It's so easy with the center focus point, where the 85 1.2 is such a pain to use, because at f1.2 it's so difficult to get anything in focus that matters. Sometimes it's the nose or the ear and the eyes are already out of focus. So on older cameras, the 135 definitely wins. I wouldn't like to use the 85 on a wedding with a 60 Mark I. I have the 60 Mark II here, and the autofocus is the same as on the Canon EOS RP or EOS R, which is phenomenal. So both lenses now work fine with these modern cameras, and you probably have or will get a modern camera over time. And so autofocus is equal now with any autofocus lens on these modern cameras. But on older cameras, it's very difficult to use the 85. It's a very high frustration level, because it's so difficult to check focus on your screen while you're shooting, and then you sometimes feel on the computer screen that some shots are not 100% on focus, where the 135 always hits the focus so easily. It's also super fast, the 135. When I mean fast, I mean it's super quick to focus. It catches the focus immediately. You can photograph a dog running, whereas the 85 is pretty slow. You cannot photograph a dog running. In terms of weight, the 135 has more reach. It's 135 versus 85, so it's 50mm more reach. But the 135 is lighter and it feels nicer on the camera. It's much more well balanced, whereas the 85 feels like a really big chunk of glass in front of the camera. And this part is heavier than the camera. So you always have a front weight, which is not doing good to your hand here. I photograph like this and I feel the weight already like this, where if I take the 135, it's not much difference, but it feels much nicer and smaller on the camera body than the 85. So feeling and, you know, long distance or long shooting days, the 135 is much nicer than the 85mm. Okay, what other areas do we have? About the bokeh, I think both cameras, both lenses work phenomenal in this area. The blurry background, the compression, the look of the image is so beautiful, and you will see more examples after this talk when I show you the videos where I use both lenses. I show you a couple of videos with the 85, a couple of videos with the 135mm lens. The camera that I used isn't really that important. I want you to see the image that you can get with this lens and how far I am actually away to get that photo. Now, to me, both of these lenses are phenomenal, and any of these lenses would be fine. If I didn't have both of them and I only could choose one, if I had older cameras, I would definitely go for the 135. If I had a newer camera, both of these are phenomenal, and I probably would also go for the 135 to get more reach. if I have a 50mm, it makes more sense to get a 135 than an 85 to get more reach and to get closer to the scene even from the distance. But in terms of quality, these lenses are both phenomenal. And I wanted to make a comparison between these two because I think the 135 is not so much talked about than the 85. 85 is in everybody's mouth when talking about portraits, whereas 135 is kind of, for some people, too long to photograph people. Where I have to say, on many weddings, this was my most used lens from all lenses that I had on the wedding, and that should speak for itself. So I hope you enjoy this video. I've put some images here and parts of the video where I photographed myself, so you can actually see where I stand, how far am I away from the cameras. And if you also like to get images like this, the look of these images, you can get my preset pack. I put it in the description below. If you want to photograph yourself with open aperture, with any lens, even with a couple of cameras at the same time, you will learn this in my video course, the Self-Made Portrait Photography video course. Also link in the description below, and that's it. Genau, nichts Unschönes im Hintergrund. Das passt gerade so vom Bildausschnitt. Sehr schön. Ich gehe noch einmal hier nach unten. Und vielleicht stell dich noch einmal an das Geländer. Ja. Genau so. Ja. Und beug dich noch ein bisschen nach vorne. Ja, genau. So? Ja. Ich komme noch einmal von hier. Sehr schön. Okay, goodie, goodie. Perfekt. Schön eng zusammen. Ja, genau. Sehr schön so. Und ich mache mal auch von jedem einfach ein Einzelbild, dann habt ihr für... Sehr schön. Und schaut euch nochmal gegenseitig an. Ja, genau. Perfekt. Und auch einmal von dir. Oder ja, ich komme einmal. Schaut euch auch einmal einfach an. Sehr schön. Und wir können vielleicht noch einmal uns einfach hier hinstellen. Ich auch einmal. Ich bin Jannis. Ich habe das 2014 das erste Mal gemacht. Und vielleicht noch einmal, ich bleibe euch einmal so viel Fisch zurück. Einmal schauen. Sehr schön. Und gib ihm ruhig einen Kuss auf die Wange, oder? Sehr schön. Sehr schön. Perfect. Imagine there's your dream boy coming. Very lovely. And I also take one from the other. So
the other side.
It looks like this.
Yes. Nice.
I also take one from this side. I go a little bit just like this. Yeah, looks very nice. And I come one more closer, just like this. And I will go one more time a little bit further away and then finito. Pop, 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 pop. Just, yeah. Very nice. Perfekt. Kommt jetzt ein Auto, aber ich mache noch mal ein paar Bilder einfach so. Sehr schön. Ich gehe noch mal ein Stück zurück. Gehe ein bisschen in die Hocke. Und einmal, ja. Vielleicht noch mal hier an der Wand, wo die blaue Wand ist. Ja, genau. Du kannst. Ja, sehr schön. Ich schau einmal. Und schau ein bisschen so auf die andere Straßenseite. Ja, das ist auch sehr schön. Und stell dich noch mal hin. Mit dem Hut. Geh noch ein Tickchen tiefer nach unten, ja genau. Oder sonst geh noch einen Tick zurück, dass die Fensterbank nicht mehr drauf ist. Genau, ja, sehr schön. Das kann man noch ein bisschen heller machen hier. So. Ich schau mal, dass ich dich auch ganz drauf kriege oder ja. Ja. Du kannst auch nochmal auf die Straße. Und dreh dich mal in die Richtung und schau zu. Und setz dich nochmal hin in die Kniebeuge. Genau. Sehr schön. Komm noch ein bisschen näher. Sieh noch ein bisschen mehr mal nur das Gesicht. Und schau noch mal zu mir. Und noch einmal ohne Hut. Okay. Perfekt. ¿Y podéis mirar a vosotros? Muy guay. ¿Y si, ya, muy guay. Sí, muy cerca. Muy guay. Perfecto. ¿Y podéis mirar a mí? Perfecto. Y aquí. Und willst du dich da einmal hinsetzen? Ja, sehr schön so. Und nimm mal den Schirm vor dein Gesicht so ein bisschen. Luki. Sehr schön. Ja. Okay, ich komme einmal. Ich komme noch mal zu dir. Bam, badam, badam. Vielleicht noch einmal hier mit der, oder? Hier mit der Wäsche. Drehen einfach zur Wand. So ist gut. Und einfach hier vorne. Ja, so ist gut. Du musst gar nicht ganz. Ja, schön. Sehr schön. Sehr schön. Pop, pop, pop. Und einmal hier an der Wand. Wo der Westen ist? Nee, da. Ja. Ist gut, wir sind sofort fertig. Schau mal, dass man da diese Kasten nicht sieht. Ja, so sehr schön. Ja, sehr schön. Perfekt. Okay. Mal hier schauen, ob man das. Ich komme noch einmal zu dir. Sehr schön. Einmal hier mit dem Weg. Ich komme einmal hier so. So. Ja, so ist auch sehr schön. Sehr schön. Kopf noch gerade. Ja, genau. Perfekt. Sehr schön. Und knie dich noch mal hin. Ja, genau. Sehr schön. Einmal looky looky. Perfekt. Und schau auch noch mal in die Richtung. Ich komme noch mal ein bisschen näher. Sehr schön so. Okay. Dann, ich glaube, ich wechsle noch einmal. Weil da steht, mit dem Objektiv muss ich immer ein Stück weiter weggehen. Und schön eng zusammen. So wie ihr einmal schauen. Und noch ein Tick enger. Ja, genau. Sehr schön. Und schaut einmal beide zu mir. Sehr schön. Und schaut nochmal zueinander. Sehr schön. Und wenn ihr möchtet, einen Kuss.
Wartet ihr hier? Wir warten hier. Okay.
So. Bleib mal da. Bam, 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 bam. Ja, das ist sehr schön so. Sehr schön. Und sehr schön. Und komm noch mal zu mir. Ja. Sehr schön. Einmal hier looky looky machen. Vielleicht so. Alles bei f1.2. Ja, sehr schön. 85. Kuckuck! Wo ist die Mama? So, wir schauen einmal. Sehr schön. Und dreh dich nochmal zur Brücke. Sehr schön. Und nochmal zu mir. Vielleicht mal hier auf f1.2. Sehr schön so. Einmal so schwuppdiwupp. Und dreh dich nochmal. Drehen. Und einmal durchs Haar. Sehr schön. Perfekt. Okay. Ja, so. Und schau noch mal hier den Weg runter. Und schau noch mal ein bisschen zum Wasser. Dreh dich mal zum Wasser. Ja, genau, so ist sehr schön. Bleib mal so. Und komm noch ein bisschen hierher. Und dreh dich just like this. And just like this. And maybe when you lean a little bit like this.
Okay.
Ah, ja. And I will go a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. And when you look a little bit to the side. Very nice. I can show you how it looks like. Like this, yeah. And maybe when you look over to the other side, okay. Just imagine there's your dream boy coming.
My dream boy.
So I can show you some pictures.
Okay, va bene.
So with this camera,
It's a really nice camera.
I need to go a little bit further away, but there are always some nice pictures. Maybe one a little bit on the street. Okay. Not. Let me just. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, or a little bit like this. Yeah. No, that's really nice. Very nice. Boop, boop. And nice from here. So I